Am I the a-hole for leaving dinner when my sister wouldn't stop talking about free bleeding? Me, 25F, had a family dinner with my fiancé, and my sister, 22F, also attending. I happened to have my period and go to the toilet a few more times than usual in the afternoon. My sister supposedly asked my fiancé about why I'm going so frequently, because during the dinner, she started to talking to me about how I'm ruining my health with using tampons instead of free bleeding. She's been doing it for years now, and she kept on explaining why I should do it too, how healthy it is, how easier it made her life, etc. I told her to stop, dinner is not the time to talk about this, and she still went about how it's only natural. My fiancé started getting visibly uncomfortable, and so did I, with my whole appetite gone. Me and my fiancé left early, and my parents, and sister, think I overreacted, but I honestly felt disgusted talking about period blood while dinner, and my sister told me I'm not invited next time for making a scene. I honestly don't know if I overreacted or not, it's just a sensitive topic for me apparently, and not my family. Am I the a-hole for letting my half-siblings hear that I don't want them to come to my mom's house with me? My 16M parents are divorced. My dad cheated on my mom, which is the reason why. I was 7 at the time. My dad ended up staying with the woman he cheated with and they had 3 kids together in the space of 3 years. Then their mom decided to peace out and she left my dad with the 3 kids. She hasn't seen her kids or done anything for them since, but my dad does get child support for them, I think. Back when that all happened, my parents shared custody of me. I was at my dad's 1 week and my mom's the next. But when I was old enough in our state, 12 here, I went before a judge and asked if I could live with my mom primarily. The judge granted it but did order that I spend every other weekend with my dad, at least. After my dad's other woman left and was no longer a part of their kids' lives, Dad turned to Mom expecting her to step up and be part of their lives and to make sure I wasn't better off than them. But my mom never did. Sometimes I would hear Dad saying she should have my half-siblings over so they could see me more or so I could bond better with them at her house because he knew I didn't see them as just siblings and he knew I didn't exactly love them. It wasn't hard to figure out because I really didn't show any interest in them. My dad wanted to change that and he wanted Mom to be part of it. I think Mom must have accused him of wanting me as a willing babysitter because Dad was super offended on the phone with her once and he said babysitting was the least of his concerns. He wanted all 4 of his kids to be close. Once I was only staying at his house every other weekend, my dad really piled on pressure for Mom to invite my half-siblings over to her house. Mom would do her best to keep it from me but almost every time I'm at Dad's house he will text or call her about it and I hear him mumble about it or I hear him on the phone with her. He says the sibling relationship will stay distant if I hardly ever spend time with them. This whole thing is something I never really pushed back on. Dad has been worse with Mom and with me lately and I was with him over a week ago and we got into a fight over it. He was like, your mom should have them over for Halloween weekend because they'd love to see you and to dress up for you to see it, and then he was like, tell your mom you want to have them come over, and I said no. He pushed and my half-siblings were close enough to hear. That's when I said I don't want them to come over to Mom's. I never wanted them to come over. I told Dad I wouldn't care if I never saw them again. Dad yelled at me and then I yelled back. It was only after a few minutes we realized the kids heard because they had started to cry. Dad told me I should be ashamed for saying what I did where they could hear. Am I the a-hole for not giving kids my spot? My husband and I attended a metal concert. We got the tickets for my birthday. All bands are very heavy, explicit ratings. Large mosh pit. It was in a venue that served hard liquor. I am a planner, so we arrived early enough to get dinner, be some of the first in line, and get good spots for the stage. We found a great area on the side overlooking the pit at the rail so no one was in front of us. About an hour and a half into the show, after the first 2 openers, a couple and their 3 small children show up behind us speaking about how they'll find better spots and this is what happens when we're late and so on. All of these kids look to be under 9 years old. One was tiny enough she was on the man's shoulders. Sure enough, after eyeing my husband and I for a while, the man came up and asked us and the people to my side if we would move so that his 3 small children can see the band. The couple next to us agreed, but when he looked at me I politely explained that I wasn't comfortable moving as I had arrived early to get this good spot for the headliner. He was flabbergasted and started raising his voice. Asked me if I really was refusing to move for his children. They love this band. You won't move? I said yes, I'm sorry, but I paid for my tickets too and I arrived on time to get a good view. After he continues at me, my husband offered to make some room on his side of the railing, but it was very tight. The 3 kids went and then sat on the floor which made us very nervous. My husband is a big man. If he fell or stepped back onto one of them, it would be a severe injury, so he planted his hand on the rail to show that we weren't moving in on them. The 3rd opener started and the kids progressively pushed against my husband. The dad put one on his shoulders. At one point I heard the dad lean down and say, don't worry about it, you keep pushing forward, okay? After a while, the guy pushed hard into my husband which then shoved him into me and he shouted, why are you pushing into us, big man? My husband calmly said he hasn't moved and gestures to his hand on the rail that he kept for a barrier. The man started raising his voice. His partner was trying to calm him down. I admit, I got heated and told him to back off. He said he didn't want to fight in front of kids. I replied, you shouldn't have brought them to this in the first place. I said something about it being dangerous since they were on the floor. The guy's wife kept trying to get him to look away from us, but he kept going. I ended up going to get security. Security came, the other guy argued, but they ended up moving them to the other side of the building by the stage. Am I the a-hole for saying I didn't know you weren't the father of your wife's kid to my brother's friend? So I, 32F, went to pick up my brother, 29M, and his buddies 26M, E, and 31MJ, from their game night, something I regularly do since my brother often volunteers to be my DD if I go out to the bars, but as they are getting out in the car, his one buddy Jay starts talking about how he can't go to the Friday game cause he has to babysit so his wife can go to a movie or something really sarcastically. Well, I looked over at brother who is shotgun who has an eye twitch going on, so I know he's been probably bitching about this most the night, but I let it go, figuring he's venting and maybe being a dick, but whatever. He's got a 5-month-old at home and I know it can be frustrating and sometimes you need to talk it out with your buddies. Well, it keeps up. I swear it was just non-stop him talking. 10 minutes into this drive he's mentioned babysitting probably 15 to 20 times, so as we pull up to a red light I calmly look back at him and go, I didn't know that you weren't the father of C's, his wife, baby. He starts freaking out asking what the fuck do I mean, how could I fucking say that, and well I guess I was a spark in a keg cause my brother snaps, well a fucking father doesn't babysit their fucking kid, you're their parents so you fucking parent them, you fucking idiot, and your wife is allowed a night out if you're spending 4 hours out with us playing fucking 40k. You worthless jackass. Now my brother is a big guy but a gentle giant, so I don't think Jay Ori was expecting that. Well, the whole car went silent, them out of shock, my brother fuming, but I was silently laughing since he said exactly what I meant and amused to my brother's more wild temper having lived with him. But we dropped Jay off first and he took off like a scared dog with his tail tucked between his legs and he was like, that wasn't cool, but I couldn't figure out if he was talking about what I said or if it was my brother's blow up. Well, apparently C called E earlier this morning because Jay was sulking around the apartment all night after getting home and is currently being pouty as hell and keep commenting about how he's a good father and partner, so he called me to say we were way too hard on him and how it's stressfully being a new dad. I don't really think we are assholes cause he was sounding like an asshole, but maybe I'm just biased cause hearing men say they are babysitting their own kids is a huge pet peeve both my brother and I learned from our dad, but maybe I'm wrong and we should apologize. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop saying I have pretty privilege and it's her fault she looks ugly? I have a sister who is 25, I will call her Tessa. I am just going to be blunt and say I look better than her. It's due to her not taking care of herself at all. When I was staying active she was not. I spend my money to get skincare and keeping my hair nice. She doesn't dress nicely either. She is always in sweats even going somewhere nice. Overall I just look better than her. She has the money to do these things, she just isn't. Now every time I see her she will comment something about the way I look. If I tell a story that turns out good for me she will tell me it's because I am pretty and so on. I assume she is jealous and I have talked to her about it. Now I had just pasted my test to get my license for my job. I was telling the story at dinner and she told me I passed since I was pretty, makes no sense. I had enough and told her to stop saying I have pretty privilege and that it is her fault that she looks ugly, not mine. She left the table after calling me a cunt and my family is split.